Hey, welcome to Body Talk. I'm Mike Thompson, and this edition we're going to talk about suicide awareness, prevention, and the Out of the Darkness Suicide Prevention Walk here at the University of Rio Grande. So stay tuned. Glad you could stay with us. Today our guest is Courtney Ruggles. Can you tell me what your official title is?
Yes, I'm Dr. Courtney Ruggles, and I'm the Director of Accessibility and Mental Health Services here on campus.
Okay. What does accessibility and mental health cover?
Okay, so it's almost two different entities in the same department. Accessibility, we are working with students who require accommodations for students who may come in with an IEP or a 504 plan from their high school, or who may be dealing with some struggles, who may need some help. And so they can come and see me, and I can help them, as long as we can prove eligibility, I can help them with accommodations for their courses. As far as the mental health piece here on campus, being the Director of Mental Health Services, I help oversee the mental health services here on campus. We have Hopewell counselors who are available, and all of those services are free for students.
And would you be a counselor also?
I do provide some counseling, yes.
Okay.
Okay. And then I also oversee some of the things that we do on campus, such as events regarding mental health and providing education and things like that.
Okay. So you go into the freshman classes and talk about things?
I do. I go into the gateway classes and provide some information about self-care.
Okay. What would that cover as self-care?
Self-care. That
could be a broad subject.
Yes, and it is very broad. In fact, everybody should participate in self-care. It's a part of our mental health well-being is self-care. And self-care can really be anything that you enjoy that's a positive influence on your life. Feeling a little stressed and you take that long bubble bath, that's self-care. You know, if you like to play sports or get in the gym, that's self-care. You know, things like that, reading a book, anything that really just kind of helps you de-stress and just breathe for a minute, because we need that. And so I always challenge everybody to find 20 to 30 minutes a day in your schedule to do some type of self-care.
Would you say playing video games would be self-care?
Yes, yes, I do.
I'm not sure about that, especially going 3 and 4 hours or whatever. Yeah.
I think there's a line between, you know, what is positive and what's negative when we look at our coping skills. But as long as it doesn't affect other aspects of your life negatively, then it's a form of self-care.
Okay. So about the suicide or Out of the Darkness walk, tell us a little bit about that and when and where and how far and all that.
Sure. So we're partnering with AFSP, which is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. They're a national organization meant to educate about suicide, bring awareness about suicide, try and influence policy, raise funds, provide programs. I mean, pretty much anything that has to do and impact with suicide, they've got their hands in. And so one thing that they do is they do a lot of fundraising, and they reach out to communities to provide these walks. And so there's a couple different types, but we're having a campus walk here at the University of Rio Grande on April 6th, and that's a Saturday. And registration starts at 8:30, but you can pre-register at any time at afsp.org.
So if you register to go on the walk, do you have to bring funds with you?
No.
You know, you have to be sponsored? Or?
Nope, you can just come and walk. Now, they do ask for donations, but not at all obligated to give donations whatsoever. We really want the community just to be involved and be there, because just showing up is showing people that you care and that you're there for them.
Okay. Where does the funds go? Is it going to that organization?
Yeah, it'll go to AFSP, and like I said, they'll use those funds to provide education, bring that money back into the communities, to have, you know, to have speakers, other programs and things like that.
Yeah, it's It's a big problem. A year or so ago, I did a video for the local schools, which we'll show at the end of the program, about suicide. And that year, I knew so many people that died of suicide. Young people,
Yes.
at high school and college age, a little bit after that. Do you have any clue of why it's on the rise?
Well, right now they're projecting that mental health diagnoses and symptoms are rising in our youth. So that's definitely a factor.
You think social media?
It could be.
Because, you know, if I got picked on in high school, I could go home
And escape.
and I'm away.
Yeah.
And social media follows you everywhere.
Yeah, and that is a big major problem. And we're seeing different trends and stuff with it as well. But suicide is so multifaceted. There's so many different aspects of it in someone who is experiencing suicidal ideations. And so we can't just pinpoint it to, you know, this is the trend and this is exactly what's happening. We kind of have to look at it from a very holistic approach, which is, you know, identifying all the different aspects and trying to find the interventions that are going to be effective for all of those.
How do you talk to somebody who is thinking about that? You know, it's I'm not of that mindset. I would be one of the last people in the world to do that because I'm an optimist. Tomorrow is always the possibility of things getting better. If you take away your tomorrows, it'll never get better.
Yeah, and that's something that, you know, there's a saying out there, and it goes along the lines of, you know, don't make a concrete change, a complete concrete change for problems today that could go away tomorrow. So, but talking to somebody, if someone expresses suicidal ideations to you, or you've heard of somebody who might be, or you're recognizing some flags, red flags, or something like that, go to them, talk to them. Just tell them that you support them and you're going to be there for them, showing care.
And like what I had to do with one of my family members is go get them and take them to a counselor.
Absolutely.
Because they won't walk in the door by themselves. And that means a lot to them that you will drive and take them and put them in front of someone.
And a lot of people, they're searching for help. They want help. And so, you know, us just showing that care and compassion and getting them the help that they need, that's how you save somebody.
Is there anything else about the walk that we need to know? I guess the distances. Where does it go? Where do we meet?
Okay, so we are going to be setting up in Line Center, the parking lot. So we'll be out there, and we'll have registration set up. We are finalizing some of the ceremony details. We're going to have a few speakers, some entertainment, things like that going on as we're waiting for the walk to begin. There's a mile walk, and there's also one that's a little bit longer than that. That'll go around campus. And
we do have some hills, so you expect that.
Yes, we do. We'll have some food and some water and stuff for everybody. But it's going to be a really neat event. So far we have 229 participants signed up. Wow. Yes, yes. And so
I know last year's was very successful.
Yes, last year was very big. And so we're hoping the same kind of turnout. We've got quite a few community organizations who are involved already and partnering with us, and we're still reaching out and trying to get more communities involved. We've got a lot of volunteers going on, so if anybody's interested in partaking in the event, all they need to do is contact me at cruggles@rio.edu, and we'll make sure you have a role in it.
Okay. So when do you start walking, and when do you expect to be done?
We'll start walking at 10:30, and I'm expecting to be done around noon or 12:30.
Okay. During what's the festivities? If there's,
we're still finalizing some things, but we're going to have something that's along the lines of a balloon release, but probably not a balloon release. Okay. So it'll be a little bit of a surprise.
I'm not into balloon releases because, you know, they have to come down somewhere, and animals ingest or get in trouble with these things.
Yeah, that's something that we were looking into, is the eco-friendly, an eco-friendly alternative, as well as there's a huge helium shortage. Who knew? And so So yeah, we're going to have face painting there for children and things like that. So it's going to be a really neat, just a really neat atmosphere with a lot of people as we remember those who have passed on.
Right.
We'll have our therapy dogs there as well, and so it's going to be neat.
Is there other walks like this in the area, or is this the one or the biggest one in this?
I think in this area, this is the biggest one. There's other walks I know that happen, for example, close to the river inside a county that are about suicide prevention and things like that. And of course, AFSB sponsors these walks all over the country. But as far as this area, I'm pretty sure we're the biggest.
And do the other walks happen at the same time? You know, is it like this day is?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah. No, this is just a date that really worked for our schedule here on campus, and so we went for it.
So if there's other walks, they will be on different days. You could make those too if you want.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else you could tell us about people in crisis like that?
Sure.
Or where they can find help?
Absolutely. If you find yourself in crisis, or if you know a friend or somebody who is in crisis, there are quite a few resources out there nowadays. There's the crisis text hotline, which is 741-741, and if you text that number, you will get a live counselor texting you back. So that's an immediate response.
Yeah, you won't be put on hold for 2 hours.
No, not at all. They're going to text you right away. Yeah. There's also a couple of hotlines, different hotlines that you can call. There's, here on campus, as I've already said, that we have free services for any student if they're feeling overwhelmed, just a little anxious, like anything like that, even to some more of the problems where they may be experiencing some more severe symptoms. Yeah. Come right in.
Yeah, I knew
at any time.
One person who had committed suicide because of their student debt. They thought, you know, that there was no way that they were going to get out of it, and they hadn't even finished their program yet.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, I haven't finished school, and I've got this much debt, and I don't see anything.
Yeah, but there's resources. There's always resources. All you have to do is at least open up that door to that one resource that's closest to you, whether it's texting the crisis hotline, coming and speaking to us on campus. Just opening up that one little door is going to open up the door to all these other resources that you can use to help you succeed, overcome this.
Right. Not just deal with your problem, just thinking about it, but actually deal with your problem.
Yeah, and learning how to cope with it in the future. Because my motto, and I tell everybody this, is my job is to put myself out of a job. So yeah, so when people come to me, I want to teach them, okay, when this happens or if this happens in the future, how can you work through it yourself? That's what I want people to learn. So.
Right. Don't want to see you again.
Yeah.
Be successful.
Like, I love you, but don't come back and see me.
Right. Not for that, at least. Where are you located, and how will people get a hold of you?
I am located in the Rhodes Student Center, in the Student Affairs office. My office is room 118 in that building.
And I don't guess you would really need an appointment?
No, you can schedule one if you like, but we absolutely take walk-ins. And then, you know, for students who are on campus at night, residential students, the RAs and SLCs are always there after hours, and if they need to get a hold of one of us, they know how to.
Okay.
And so there's always somebody available.
So I guess I would say, see Ruggles for your struggles.
That's actually a pretty good one. I like that. I always use hugs for rugs, but, but I like see Ruggles for your struggles.
Yeah, might be a good way to remember that. What other type of things do you see in your office?
Well, like I said, we put on a lot of events. So right now I'm sponsoring, I guess you can call it, the Pop-Up for Mental Health series. And it's a fun event that we've created this year where I have themes, and basically, I don't know if you've heard of the pop-up stores and things like that, where, you know, they'll just pop up and there they are, and you go and enjoy whatever they're doing. So we did one last month, and it was where we made the fortune tellers. I don't know if you remember those from back in the day, where you have the little cookie fortune teller and it has things written inside of it. We did it for coping skills.
All right.
And so tomorrow we've got another one happening, and I sent out an email this morning, and so we're doing pop-up for mental health, positive affirmation photo booth.
Okay.
And we're gonna have a photo booth.
So what's that mean?
So positive affirmations are when we tell our things positive affirming things, which is like, you know,
because I remember the guy on Saturday Night Live, Stewart or something. I am good enough.
Yes,
I'm smart enough.
Exactly. That's exactly what they are. And so the rules for the positive affirmation photo booth is, and I've already created them, and they can be personalized, but you have to have a positive affirmation sign. And yeah, so I'll take pictures. We're going to have a whole little setup, and we'll have the pictures done. And then the mental health blog that my office has been sponsoring, and we'll post them on there so that way students can access them and download them for themselves.
Okay. What else was that just the two things you had? Yeah,
so far. I've got one more in the works, but since it's a pop-up, I can't tell you what it is yet.
Is it like once a month?
It is about once a month. Sometimes, you know, the schedules, they come in and mess things up, but we're trying to do it once a month, so I should have at least one more before we head into the end of the year.
Okay. Had a few questions.
Sure.
Confidentiality.
That's a huge main concern for a lot of students.
Right, and do you have to report them to administration or anything else like?
No. Coming in to see me and speaking with me or any counselor on campus is completely confidential.
Okay.
So we cannot tell anybody unless the student gives us permission, and we have to have written permission. So we can't just go all willy-nilly and telling everybody everything. That's not how we do things.
This guy says something and call the police and call the squad
Now,
and
there
everything.
are extenuating circumstances, meaning that if a student or somebody, anybody, is expressing self-harm. I mean, it could be anybody.
Right.
Expressing self-harm or, I shouldn't even say self-harm, imminent danger to themselves or others, then we do have to report that and get them help. But other than that, and those are, I mean, those are rare cases. Usually we can get people the resources that they need and things like that. But confidentiality, everything is confidential. It does not leave my office unless it's absolutely necessary or the students give us permission.
What kind of traffic do you see? Is it once a week, once a day?
Per each student or just on average?
How many times do people come see you about things?
I'm busy.
Busy?
Yes.
Okay.
We are busy because not only am I providing those services, we have 4 other counselors on campus who are providing those services.
Okay. And that's one thing, you know, sometimes people feel alone, and you're really not, because, you know, there's been a lot of stories, you know, from the beginning of time. Your story is not new. Somebody's done what you've done and is doing what you're doing right this minute somewhere, someplace, and, you know, you're not alone.
Right.
And there's a right way and a wrong way, or a better way to deal with things, and if you don't know how, then ask somebody. You don't have something that somebody else hasn't heard before.
I mean, that's what we're here for, is to teach people how to move past things or just cope with things. And so I'm actually in the works with trying to set up a couple like peer support groups and things like that, so that way students can connect in different ways and support each other through things as well, because that's major.
Do you see people struggling more with relationships or school load or coming out about their personal
all of that?
All of it?
Yeah. See, all of it. You know, I've had many come to me about relationships. I've had many come to me about feeling overwhelmed at school and things, and you know, those are legitimate concerns, absolutely. We've had people come to us who are in recovery from substance abuse and things like that. So, I mean, there's nothing here on campus that if you're feeling a certain way or need to speak about something, there's nothing that we cannot help you through.
That's good. Good to know. How does administration support you well?
Yes.
It seems like it.
Yes, yes. So very supported here on campus. It's been wonderful. You know, we've got a few new ideas and things like that, and it's been just a great support from everybody. So.
And who else is in your office?
With Student Affairs, we have Dina Warren, who's our Dean of Students, and also our Title IX coordinator. We have Amy Weaver, who's our assistant administrator, Marlene Childers, our campus nurse, and then Seth Lawrence, who's who's our student activities coordinator.
Okay. Yeah, he can keep you busy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, and we work very well together. We work very well and in tandem with each other, and so it's a really awesome team dynamic that we have. It's wonderful.
Where did you come from before this?
Right before this, I was working in hospice.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes.
That's a great job, but not an easy one.
It's not easy, very rewarding, not easy. My expertise is in mental health and behavioral studies. And I also used to teach sociology and psychology.
So there'd be a lot of stories we could go into probably from that.
I've got a lot of stories.
You know, from the things you see from people passing. It's probably very interesting.
Yeah, it definitely was an eye-opening experience.
Yeah, you don't realize how important that people like you are until you go through it. You know, it's, you know, something you don't expect. And, well, you may expect it, but you're not ready for it even when you're ready, you think you're ready for it.
I would say that's something I don't think anybody is really prepared for.
Okay, we're going to give your contact information one more time and the overview of the walk, and then we'll watch the video.
Okay, all right. So again, the Out of the Darkness walk is happening here on campus on April 6th. You can pre-register at afsp.org, or you can register the morning of the walk at the actual walk. Registration starts at 8:30, and ceremony starts at 10. Walk starts at 10:30. To reach me, my email is cruggles@rio.edu, or you can use my telephone number. It's 740-245-7439.
Okay, and you're really unapproachable.
Sometimes I have that RBF.
Okay, one other thing is we have high school students here taking college classes.
Yeah.
Can they come see you?
They
And do you have to call the parents?
Yes, we have to get. The difference with that is if you're under 18, parents do have to sign a consent form for the child to be, or I'm so sorry, for the student to be seen. But past from that, you know, we will ask for a release of information, is what we call it, to talk to the parents. However, it's, I'd say, a pretty much shared policy between a lot of counselors and social workers and therapists that we're not going to share every detail or anything like that because that's not therapeutic.
So the high school student can come talk to you. And do you have to tell the parents that they came talk to you? Yeah,
we will have to get a consent form.
But you don't have
parents.
to like go into all the bloody details.
No, we do not go into the details unless it is absolutely necessary. Like I said, students in imminent harm, then we would. But before that, no.
Okay. All right. So the next piece we have here gives a little information about suicide prevention awareness. It's something that I produced for the local school systems, and it was after a couple of suicides happened at the high schools, not at the high school, but high school students, and they asked me to do this, and I thought it was really good and good to share. So, thanks for watching.
Suicide is one of the leading causes of death for young people, but it doesn't have to be.
She was new and seemed like she was having a hard time fitting in.
I really don't remember her being involved in anything.
He took the breakup really hard.
Things weren't the same after she failed the test.
He worried a lot about disappointing his family.
He started having a hard time when his parents separated. People were always picking on him and calling him names.
She started sitting by herself and didn't talk much to others.
She started to miss school a lot.
Every time I saw him by his locker, he looked like he'd been crying.
I noticed that she posted weird messages on social media like, soon this will all be over.
I knew something was up when he gave away his grandpa's watch. He had always told me how much he loved it.
I was worried about him because he wasn't as talkative and kind of moody.
And I started to notice that he would quit talking to his friends and he isolated himself from all of his groups that he was in.
She said she wished she could go to sleep and not wake up.
She said she was tired of feeling lonely.
She told me that she felt hopeless about pulling her grades up.
He said he wished he could disappear so he would not be a burden to his family.
He told me I didn't have to worry about him after break.
I thought about standing up for him finally, but I didn't want to become their next victim.
I wanted to know if he was thinking about suicide, but I didn't know what to say if he said yes.
I did wonder if I was making too big of a deal about it. I didn't want to offend her.
I knew someone in the past who had attempted suicide too. I didn't want to risk it.
Even though I didn't know what to do, I knew I had to do something because I was worried about him.
I thought about inviting her to play basketball, but I figured someone else already did, so I didn't.
I was always taught to mind my own business. Everyone has a rough time at school, right?
I kept thinking, what if it were me? I'd want a friend to do something. So I shared problems that I had in the past and asked him if he felt comfortable talking to a teacher.
So I asked him, "Are you thinking about suicide?" The more we talked, the more concern he shared for his safety, so we agreed to talk to the guidance counselor.
I didn't want to be the one to blame if something happened, so I asked her if she was having suicidal thoughts. She said yes, so I called the crisis line and got advice on how to help.
I would rather have her mad at me than dead or even hurt.
So I walked up and said I'm sorry and offered to spend the rest of the afternoon with him so we could talk.
I thought to myself I'd feel better knowing I did something. We talked about who could be helpful for extra support for them and decided to call their family and tell them what's been going on.
So I went to my coach and started to ask how I could help.
At River Valley, we take care of each other.
At River Valley, we look out for each other.
At River Valley, we're a team.
Once a Raider, always a Raider.
At Galley Academy, we support each other.
At Galley Academy, we never walk alone.
Once a devil, always a devil.
At South Gaia, we believe in each other.
At South Gaia, we're a family.
Once a rebel, always a rebel.
There are things you can do to identify problems and help someone in need.
Recognize when they are having thoughts of suicide and respond. Warning signs for suicide can be verbal cues of feeling hopeless, helpless, or trapped, withdrawal, isolation, change in mood or sleep patterns, substance abuse, alcohol and other drugs, giving away important possessions, looking for and obtaining necessary items, and talking about death or dying.
Take action or get others involved. Ask directly about suicide. Express concern. Listen with empathy and no judgment. Remind them help is available. Remind them they're not alone.
Make a referral to a mental health professional, guidance counselor, or community resource.
In this community,